So writer's block can be quite the pain to get past. It sucks when you're sitting there for hours on end, looking at a blank screen without anything coming to mind. Well, hopefully I can help you with some of that. Hello, I'm Mike with WriterSanctuary, and today I'm talking about 10 ways that I avoid writer's block to stay productive. Now, usually I really don't have a lot of problems with writer's block, but I do a lot of these things to keep me going and to keep the ideas flowing. So first of all, we create specific blocks of time for our writing. This is when you find the time that is the most productive for you. Now, back in the day, I was actually pretty productive at night, but I find that writing first thing in the morning helps me stay way more focused. Nowadays, I schedule 2-hour blocks of time specifically right after my client stuff is done so that I'm still quite fresh. This is because I value my client work above everything else because, well, they pay the mortgage. But the idea of creating a block of time, especially like I use an app like Asana, I am forcing myself, no, not really forcing myself, but creating a habit of using a 2-hour block of time specifically for writing my book. That way I can guarantee myself at least 2 hours of working on it. And usually within that 2 hours, I can write anywhere between 1,500 and 2,100 words. This is a block of time that I try not to have anything else interfere with. The second way that I combat writer's block to stay productive is my 20-minute walks every break. I find that doing 2 hours on, 30 minutes off, 2 hours on, 30 minutes off works great for me throughout the day. And during my 30-minute breaks, I usually take a 20-minute walk around the backyard. Now, as you can see, I've kind of carved quite the path in my backyard. That's how much walking I actually do. But I find that I do a lot of my best thinking while I'm walking, and I've always been that way, even when I was running the computer center way back in the day, that whenever I was outside walking, this was back when I was a smoker, I'd be outside smoking a cigarette and walking, and I would come up with some brilliant ideas. Helped me with troubleshooting. I did a lot of great thinking while I was walking. Another way that I combat writer's block, and it's kind of similar to walking, is that I hit the gym. Now, there's a lot of studies that show that physical activity actually improves brain power, so it's worth the time to get up and exercise. Now, this doesn't mean that you necessarily have to go to the gym, but when you work up one hell of a sweat, it's better for your brain. I know that every time I come back from the gym, I am far more focused and ready for work, so something else I do is kind of silly is that I imagine the video of what my book would be. Whether it's a trailer or maybe even a music video, I can see scenes in my head as the music is playing of what I would actually like to see in my book. Then I wind up taking those scenes and putting them in my book. This has actually helped me write Kingmaker and Fury and the next 4 after that. And if they're even close to what I can see in my head during the music, they're going to be epic. Another method you can use to combat writer's block, and it's kind of similar to the video thing, is to listen to music that fits scenes. Like when I was writing Kingmaker, there is a character in that book where I listened to the exact same theme on repeat whenever I wrote his part, because it just fit him so perfectly. The music just kind of empowered me to write for that specific character, and his parts came out to be pretty epic. Well, at least I think so. But never underestimate the value of music. Normally I write in absolute silence unless I need a little bit more oomph behind either a character, a scene, or even a location. Another method that helps me combat writer's block is to write the book out of order. In fact, I wrote the ending to Kingmaker before I was even done with chapter 1. I essentially knew where I wanted the book to go, and then I just needed to fill in the blanks. And throughout the story, I would write segments here and there based off my music walking of what the music video would look like, and I would add those parts as I went. Now, as I write, the ending did change quite a bit from the original first draft, and that's okay as long as the first draft is done. So I would write the ending first, and then whatever happened throughout the entire story would change the ending. Well, at least it changed it. I'd say about half of what I wrote in the very beginning I had to change because things that happened throughout the book. My point is that you don't need to stick with a linear format. If you have some ideas for things that you want to see in your book for a future moment, then you can write those out first and then try to fill in the gaps later. And actually for me, it helps because now I know where I want everything to be. I can then follow through and try to get everything to get to that point. Another way to avoid writer's block is ask some advice from friends. Another pair of eyes can work wonders on just about everything. Like for the most part, I use my beta readers on Buy Me a Coffee, and the input from them was invaluable. Especially when it came to love scene, because I wasn't really sure how I was going to do all that. I've never done it before publicly, so it was kind of interesting, and I was hoping for a woman's perspective on it, and it turned out okay. The point is that your friends can help you get quite a bit done. Now, one method that I see a lot of authors use to combat writer's block is to write a short story. Writing prompts work great, and I like the Readsy writing prompts page, but you can use whichever one you want. But a writing prompt can help you stir some creative juices before you actually tackle your primary novel. Now, something I do a lot to keep me motivated and productive is I reread the previous chapter. Now, when it takes you 2 years to write a book, rereading the previous chapter is quite beneficial. I'm trying to cut that down. But rereading the previous chapter gets me in the mindset of where I want things to go, and it's just a good flow, and then as soon as it comes to the end of it, then I know where I need to write. And lastly, probably one of the most important things, don't try to force perfection, especially when you're writing your first draft. The whole point of the first draft is to get the story done, and then you can go back through and make changes and edits later. In fact, there is no such thing as perfection. If you're waiting for perfection, you'd be sitting there writing the same book for the next 20 years. My point is, don't try to force being perfect on your first run, because it's not going to be. Your first draft is not the book you're going to publish. So there you have it. Those are 10 quick things that I do to combat writer's block and stay productive. But these are some of the things that work best for me. Now, I can't guarantee that these will help you with writer's block. Nobody can. The trick is to find something that works best for you and stick with it. And sometimes you have to make changes, but that's the way things go. So what kind of things do you do to help you fight writer's block? Perhaps out of all the things I do, envisioning my book as a music video is probably the most effective. I've come up with some amazing ideas that I really can't wait to write. And writing the book out of order helps out quite a bit. Anywho, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. For more videos about self-publishing, freelance writing, blogging, or anything else I cover, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. I think it's going to do it for me today, and I'll see you next time.